Just a few miles from the bright lights of Las Vegas lies the vast desert. As ordinary as the place seems during the day, it becomes even stranger after nightfall. One summer night in 2022, 28-year-old Eric decided to go into the desert alone, making a bet with his friends, because a rumor had been circulating among the locals for a few weeks. People used to say that after 2 a.m., a black figure would be seen in the middle of the desert. From a distance, it looked like a man standing there, but the closer you got to it, the further it would move away. Eric didn't believe this. At 1:45 a.m., he drove out of town in his pickup truck. Silence all around, only the sound of the wind. The car's headlights cut through the desert dust and moved forward. Suddenly, he saw a man standing in the distance, like a black shadow. Head down, hands at his sides, Eric was surprised. Why would someone be standing here so late at night? He stopped the car. He took out his mobile phone and started recording the video. "Let's see if we can solve the mystery of the ghost today," he said with a smile. Then he slowly started walking. But even after walking for 5 minutes, he couldn't reach the man. Rather, it seemed that the man had gone further away. Eric stopped. Now an uneasiness began to work inside his body. Just then, a notification came on his phone. The video recording had stopped. He opened the video and watched it. And then his body went cold. Because in the video, that black figure wasn't in front of him. Rather, it was standing right behind him, just a few feet away. Eric turned around in fear. But there was no one behind, just darkness. His chest began to pound. He quickly started walking back to the car, but after going a little further, he realized there was no car. Where the truck had been left, there was only empty desert. It felt like he had lost his way. The same sand and rocks all around. Suddenly, the wind stopped. The entire area became unusually quiet, and in the middle of that silence, he heard a sound. Someone was whispering, very softly. "Eric." He froze, because the voice belonged to his own mother, who had died 3 years ago. "Eric, come here." The voice came from the darkness. Tears welled up in Eric's eyes. For a moment he forgot where he was. He followed the sound and started walking. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Then suddenly he stopped. An old well in front, in the middle of the desert, which shouldn't exist, broken wood around the well. It seemed hundreds of years old. The whispers were coming from inside the well now. "Eric, look down." His hands were shaking. Still, he slowly looked into the well. Darkness. Just darkness. But after a few seconds, he saw something move. Many hands, human hands, hundreds of hands, all reaching upwards, as if trying to grab him. Eric backed away in terror. Just then, a face emerged from the well. It was his own face, exactly. But the eyes were completely black. The face was smiling. Then he said, "I've been waiting for you for so long." Eric, run. He had never run so fast in his life. There were countless footsteps coming from behind, as if hundreds of people were chasing him. He didn't dare look back. Suddenly, he saw the lights of a car in the distance. He ran towards it with all his might. A few minutes later, he reached his truck. He opened the door, got inside, started the engine. He drove straight back to the city. He never went to the desert again after that night. But the story doesn't end there. A week later, he watched the video of that night again. In the last few seconds of the video, he noticed something new that he hadn't noticed before. But every night, it creeps closer to the bed. And Eric knows. One day when he opens his eyes, that thing won't be by the door anymore. It'll be standing right next to his bed, waiting to take him back to the desert. Death Valley is one of the most isolated places in America. During the day, It looks like an endless ocean of sand, rock, and heat. But at night, the desert becomes something else entirely. The silence feels unnatural. The darkness stretches forever. And according to locals, some things out there don't belong to this world. For decades, travelers have shared a strange legend. They say that after midnight, an old radio signal sometimes appears on frequencies that should be completely dead. The voice on the signal always says the same thing. Can anyone hear us? We're lost. Most people ignore it. The few who try to follow the signal often report strange experiences, and some never come back. In October 2021, a 34-year-old amateur radio enthusiast named Mark Collins decided to investigate the story for himself. Mark loved mysteries. He spent his weekends exploring abandoned places, recording unusual radio frequencies, and debunking paranormal myths. To him, the Death Valley radio signal was just another urban legend waiting to be explained. So he packed his camera equipment, camping gear, GPS tracker, satellite phone, and radio receiver into his Jeep and headed into the desert alone. His plan was simple: stay overnight, record the signal, find its source, prove that it was a hoax. The first few hours went exactly as expected. The desert was quiet. The sky was filled with thousands of stars. At around 11:30 p.m., Mark set up his equipment near an abandoned mining area that hadn't been used for nearly a century. He started recording. Midnight passed. Nothing happened. 12:30 a.m. Still nothing. Mark began laughing at himself. Maybe the legend was completely fake. Then, at exactly 1:07 a.m., his radio crackled. Shh! A burst of static filled the air. Mark immediately sat upright. The static continued for several seconds. Then a voice appeared, weak, distorted, almost impossible to hear. "Hello? Can anyone hear us?" Mark froze. The voice sounded real, not pre-recorded, not automated, a real human voice. He grabbed the microphone. "Yes, I can hear you. Who is this?" Several seconds passed, only static. Then the voice returned. "Thank God. We've been waiting." Mark's pulse quickened. "Waiting for who?" The answer came immediately. "For you." A chill ran down his spine. Something about the way the voice spoke felt wrong, like it was smiling. Trying to stay calm, Mark checked his equipment. The signal was coming from somewhere deeper in the desert, about 7 miles away. Curious, he started his Jeep and began driving toward it. The farther he drove, the stronger the signal became. But something strange happened. His GPS suddenly froze. The screen flickered, then turned black. A moment later, it restarted. Instead of showing coordinates, only one word appeared: lost. Mark frowned. That had to be a software error. Yet no matter what he tried, the screen refused to change. Only one word remained: lost. The desert road eventually disappeared. Now he was driving across his open ground. The signal was stronger than ever. Then he saw it. A red light blinking in the distance, once every few seconds. On, off, on, off. A tower, a radio tower, standing alone in the middle of nowhere. Mark had studied maps of the area before arriving. No tower was supposed to be there, yet there it stood. Tall, rust-covered, ancient, like it had been abandoned for decades. As he approached, he noticed something even stranger. There were people standing beneath it, at least 20 of them, maybe more, completely motionless, not speaking, not moving, just standing in silence, watching. Mark stopped his Jeep. His headlights illuminated the figures, and his stomach dropped. Their faces were wrong. Some had no eyes, some had no mouths. Others appeared smooth and featureless, like unfinished mannequins. Yet somehow Mark knew they were all staring directly at him. His radio suddenly came alive again. "Welcome, Mark." His blood turned cold. He'd never told anyone his name, not over the radio, not online, not to anyone nearby. Yet the voice knew exactly who he was. "Who are you?" he demanded, static. Then laughter, soft, distant, echoing. "We've been listening for a very long time." The figures beneath the tower began moving, slowly, one step forward, then another. Their movements weren't human. Their arms bent at impossible angles, their heads tilted too far, like puppets controlled by invisible strings. Mark immediately jumped back into his Jeep. He slammed the door shut and started the engine. The figures continued walking toward him, slow, steady, unstoppable. Mark hit the gas. The Jeep raced across the desert. In his rearview mirror, he watched the figures disappear into darkness. Finally, he relaxed. Then he looked forward again and nearly screamed. One of them was sitting in the passenger seat, motionless, silent. Its face was completely blank. No eyes, no mouth, no nose, nothing. Just smooth gray skin. Mark swerved violently. The Jeep rolled across the desert. Metal screamed, glass shattered, everything went black. When he opened his eyes, dawn was approaching. The desert was silent again. The passenger seat was empty. No figure, no tower, nothing. Had it all been a hallucination, a dream? Mark staggered out of the wrecked Jeep. Miraculously, he was alive. A nearby highway was visible in the distance. He began walking. A passing truck driver eventually found him and took him back to town. The nightmare was over, or so he thought. Several days later, Mark reviewed the footage from his cameras. Most of the recordings were corrupted. Hours of static, black screens, audio distortion. Then he found one final video file, a file he had never recorded. The timestamp showed 3:13 a.m., the exact period when he had been unconscious. With trembling hands, he pressed play. The video showed the radio tower, standing in darkness. The faceless figures surrounded it, and there, directly beneath the tower, stood Mark, perfectly still, facing the camera, smiling, a wide, unnatural smile, one he had never made in his life. For 19 minutes, he didn't move, not once, not even a blink. Then, at the very end, he stepped closer to the camera. His eyes were completely black, and he whispered, "The signal never ends. Now it knows where you are." The screen went black. Mark never slept properly again. Every night at exactly 1:07 a.m., his radio switched on by itself. No matter where he unplugged it, no matter how many times he destroyed it, the signal always returned. And every night the same voice whispered, "We're still waiting. Come back." 3 months later, Mark vanished. No signs of struggle, no goodbye note, no evidence. The only thing found in his house was a radio sitting on his kitchen table, still transmitting, still crackling with static. Police officers reported hearing a voice before the equipment was confiscated, a voice saying, "Another one has arrived." And according to the evidence log, the radio continued broadcasting for 3 more days. Even though it contained no batteries,